Hello everyone, and thanks for stopping by my channel. I am Serg T, and in this video I will be talking about Friday Night Smackdown for June 28, 2024. And this is of course Friday Night Smackdown, which takes place in the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden in New York City. First off, we see that LA Knight and Logan Paul will compete in a triple threat match in the Money in the Bank qualifier that also includes Santos Escobar. And Jade Cargill also competes in a triple threat qualifier that includes Candice LeRae and Tiffany Stratton. And then we see a car arrive and is met by Heyman, and out comes the Bloodline. Jacob is not with them, as we hear "We Want Roman" chants, and the Bloodline are headed to the ring, but Paul Heyman asked Solo, where is Jacob Fatu? That's going to be a theme pretty much throughout this show. Him wondering, where is Jacob Fatu? I mean, was it going to be a recognition thing, a recognition ceremony? Wasn't it for Jacob Fatu? Why is he not there? We'll find out soon enough. And then Cody, Orton, and KO arrive as well. And they aren't waiting till Money in the Bank for their 6-man tag team match. Chaos is unleashed on the Bloodline as KO in the crowd dives onto Tonga Loa, a swanton bomb to be exact, as he crashes through Tonga, putting him through the table. What a sick, crazy spot. KO is fearless. People want to say that he hasn't been pushed right, that he isn't as what everybody says he is, but folks, he is. He's everything, and that a guy shouldn't be moving for a guy his size. He's moves just like a cruiserweight. The guy can go, and he pretty much made Tonga Loa pay for his past sins, if you know what I'm saying. And then back from break, and Cody and company aren't budging. And an RKO to one of the security personnel, because the GM, Nick Aldis, went out there with security. And because of that RKO, this triggers others to wreak havoc on the security personnel. And also a stunner by KO as well. They are not fucking around. I mean, look what's happened to them in the past weeks. You honestly think they're gonna just acquiesced and leave because we got some security there? Well, let's face it, you know that they're local enhancement talent, local indie guys, but you know, we've seen in the past what happens. Even like Ethan, what's that? Ethan Carter, you know, EC3 was there was a security guy one time. Even MJF was played security guy in WWE. So, you know. But it's a good way for them to, I guess, earn a paycheck, or I don't know if they get paid, but you know, they get some exposure. I guess I don't know how you could really remember these guys. We only remember guys like that, like EC3 and you know, MJF when they're famous or popular, and then they always have these videos that look back at what they've done in the past and if they ever worked in WWE, and yes, they have. Now KO, he's talking on the mic, and he says that they are not waiting till Money in the Bank, and if the Bloodline thought so, they are dumber than they look. And Orton has dealt with the Bloodline up his ass for over 2 years and put him on the shelf for 18 freaking months. That's true. We were wondering if he was ever going to come back, and he's back better than ever, right? That back doesn't seem to be an issue anymore. I mean, he had surgery there. Sometimes we kind of cringe when we see him take bumps, but you know, right? I mean, like we say, the technology now for surgeries right now are just miles ahead of what they used to be. And he promises that at Money in the Bank, they put the Bloodline down for good, and I hope so. For their sake, I'm not saying that I want that, because especially what happened today. Oh my God. Probably one of the best moments in WWE history, maybe even wrestling, period. But I'll get back to that when it comes time. Now, Cody adds to that the Bloodline looks in this ring and sees 3 victims. He doesn't see 3 victims. he sees three of the most dangerous men on the planet. Somebody that's headlining WrestleMania, I see my friend Kevin Owens. He headlined twice, right? With Stone Cold, and the following year with Sami Zayn when they became the undisputed tag team champions. And after this is said, the crowd erupts in cheers. And I see a 14-time world champion, a first ballot Hall of Famer, and a man who's responsible for me standing here, the legend killer Randy Orton, and the crowd cheers. And we know what he means by that because he was a member along with Ted DiBiase Jr., along with Randy Orton as legacy. So he's had a long-standing friendship with Randy Orton. But when Randy Orton is turned heel, I don't see that not happening. And they're going to have a feud. It might come down the road. That might be the feud. And that's actually a feud a lot of people want to see. Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. He continues. And here's what else I see. I see a sold-out world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. The crowd cheers again. You see magic like this, a crowd like this. And I should be defending my WWE Championship here tonight against a worthy, credible opponent. Instead of fighting a war with the Bloodline, and respectfully, I thought I had already finished at WrestleMania. And then we see Aldis heading to the ring. I mean, Randy Orton pretty much tells the guy, hey, look who's coming down the rampway. And he's not alone, is Aldis, as he has the New York's finest, it looks like, with him. Kind of at a distance, I didn't know, but it did turn out to be the NYPD. And then Cody addresses Solo and says, Solo, look at me. At MITB or Money in the Bank, I don't know why we're calling it the Bloodline because I don't see a boss. I don't see a tribal chief. I don't see a head of the table. I see a seat filler. Ooh-wee, that's a burn right there, right? I mean, Solo already isn't being taken seriously by a lot of people in the IWC, the fans, the universe. And I don't know if, after what happened tonight, if that's going to be the same, consensus. I don't know if people are going to look at Solo, in a different light after tonight. I think they're going to, but that's for, again, like I said earlier, that's going to be for later. Now, up next is a Money in the Bank qualifier featuring Jade Cargill, Candice LeRae, and what did I say? Candice LeRae, and Tiffany Stratton. Now, out first is Tiffy. It's Tiffy time. And next is Candice LeRae. And last but not least is the Stormbringer, Jade Cargill. Would that catch on, calling her the Stormbringer? I don't think anybody said that. I mean, that could be her in their intro. The Stormbringer, Jade Cargill. I'm babbling to me. Let's move on. And she's looking to do what Bianca Belair failed to do in her qualifier. And that is to advance to Money in the Bank. Now, in this match, Jade is handling her business. And since she tosses Candice onto a waiting Stratton on the outside, knocking her down. But we then see Queen Nia Jax. Of course, she's out there because her and Tiffany Stratton are looking to form some type of an alliance. But then behind her is Bianca. Bianca ain't going to put up with Queen Nia Jax's shenanigans, especially when it concerns her girl, Jade Cargill. And as we see Bianca right behind Nia Jax, and they confront each other. As JR would famously say, business is about to pick up. But in the end, Tiffany Stratton hits the prettiest moonsault and gets the victory and advances to Money in the Bank. Seen a lot of chaos on the outside, a lot of things that distracted Candice LeRae. We saw Indy push Jade into the steel post, taking her out, and then Bianca making chase after her. Kind of laughed a little bit, giggled to myself, because you see, I believe she was wearing heels because she was running so gingerly, like she didn't want to fall over, but she's still determined to go and catch, Indy Hartwell. And then Queen Naya, seeing her possible partner advance, I would say she was impressed with her. And I tell you, man, I love how she does that moonsault. The bottom rope, the second rope, and then once she hits the top rope, her feet just barely touches, and then she just bounces off. I mean, it's just like perfection. If she slips up and she doesn't touch the top, she does it so smoothly, quickly, but it's the top rope or the top turnbuckle, and she just nails that moonsault. I mean, she rivals Eos as the best moonsault in this business so far that we can see. But so Tiffany advances, and as well she should be. She should have. I was picking Jade, but Jade will have her time. She didn't get pinned, so they're actually trying to make her look strong by not pinning her. People will say that she's getting buried. Look, she didn't pass this. She didn't do it with the Queen of the Ring, and now it's here. But people, if you've watched wrestling as long as I have, and even if you've watched it for 10 years, you should know how shit goes. You should know that the biggest people that have ever been pushed in the beginning of their career did not, come out gangbusters. You know what I mean? I mean, she has in somewhat, but at the same time, she's going to be making mistakes and she's going to be held back a little bit sometimes. But there's going to be a bigger reward down the road. Just wait and see. Y'all need to stop your hate about Jade. I mean, I love it when she did that so-called botch at Clash at the Castle, but remember, the ropes weren't tight enough. They was really just, loose. And when she did that move, she wanted to do that springboard high cross body. I believe it was a high cross body she was going to do. She slipped. Of course she did, because the ropes. But people that don't like her, people that want to hate on her, are going to pick any instance to say that Jade sucks. Jade's this, Jade's that. I love Jade. She's got the look, she's got the charisma, she's got all the package, and she's bringing it all together. It's coming together for her. So I don't know why people still want to hate on her. You want to say she's still green. You want to say she still has a lot to go. Yes, of course. But that's not a negative. Because she can only get better, and she is. I don't think that Jade has ever wanted to present herself as the best technical wrestler. She has her moveset. She's getting better every time, every day. You see her on TV. So why the hate? I don't know why. I don't get it. Now, Bayley is hyping up her girl Naomi backstage. Naomi's there stretching because she's going to be entering a qualifier herself. She wants to qualify for the Money in the Bank. I don't know if she's ever been in one. She's probably been in one, but definitely know that she hasn't won one. But then Blair Davenport isn't having their love fest because, Bayley and Naomi are longtime friends, right? And then she tells Bayley to hold on really tight to that belt of hers, because Blair pretty much is telling her that she will win and cash in on her. But Naomi said she would cash in if she wins Money in the Bank. She says to Bayley, don't forget, I might win. And then Bayley's like, well, we'll talk about that later. So I don't know if Bayley thinks that it might happen and she's going to have to face her again, or face the possibility of Naomi cashing in on her. Because in the end, these women, as well as the men, want to be champion. That's why they're in this industry, right? But then she says, that might happen, but one thing at a time, right? Now, Michin's backstage talking to the GM, wants her some of Queen Naya because of what happened in the past. And the Prophets, they come in, and they want some of the Bloodline. They have issues with them too. And they want to give him that smoke tonight, but Nick Aldis says that he can't. Perhaps next week. But then we get Pretty Cringy coming in. And I mean, these guys have not grown on me. They've grown on me like a wart. Coming in there, singy-songy, talking out loud. And I'm like, boy, these pretty deadly fools are annoying as fuck. And then the Prophets, well, they get to do their own musical after it was suggested by Pretty Awful, I like to call them Pretty Awful, that they wanted to do their own musical. Picture this, Pretty Deadly, the musical. I'm like going, oh, like you just want to, when you want to go and shower and wash off that douche chills, right? And then the Prophets have a suggestion, and how about they get one, and they're gonna call it Street Profits versus or end Pretty Deadly, The Beatdown. I'd like to see that musical. I don't go to musicals much, or I don't think I've ever gone to one. I'd go to that one just so I can see their dumbasses get beat down. And I'd like to see B-Fab, like I always say, looking fab like always, getting her some licks in there too. You know what I mean? Especially if she has those high heels on. Do some damage. But up next, Santos Escobar, he comes out as he is part of this triple threat match to qualify for Money in the Bank. And then next up is LA Knight, who may be, he may just be too preoccupied with Logan Paul and give Escobar the opening to take advantage and win this match. But then backstage, Solo is checking his chin, because of what happened earlier. He must have got that chin rocked by Cody. And Heyman talks to him. And again he asks him, where is Jacob Fatu? And Solo hears him and does acknowledge him as his Wiseman. Because, he wants to ensure him and let him know. But does Jacob Fatu, not Jacob Fatu, but does Solo really take Heyman seriously as his Wiseman? He butters him up, tells him he loves him, but then you see the actions that he takes, and you're just like, does he really care about Paul Heyman? I've asked that question to myself week after week. And then he tells Paul that he should take his advice. And Paul said that, he was dangerous, and Solo took his advice, so Jacob is not here, and he won't be here. And that is why Heyman is his Wiseman. And it's going to be made official tonight. I thought they were going to recognize Jacob Fatu, but they're going to do a recognition of the Wiseman, of Paul Heyman as their Wiseman. But back to the match, and Logan Paul comes out. And what is up with SmackDown blacking out here and there? I thought it happened during I think it was Cody's speech. And I honestly thought that meant someone was making an appearance. That only happens when Malachi Black appears, The Undertaker, right? I'm thinking, is somebody going to appear? And all it was just something happened with the feed, with the Fox feed, the Fox's feed of SmackDown. I'm like going, sometimes it got monotonous. I'm like going, what the fuck is going on, man? If I wanted to see a blank screen, I would just turn off my TV, And also the what do you call it? The censoring or the, what do you call that? Damn it. The muting, there you go, of the F word and all that stuff. There was one instance where during, I believe it was a Bloodline segment, and there was a long ass nothing being heard. And I'm going, we could be missing something important being said, and these guys want to be like that. I cannot wait. Well, this is SmackDown, but I can't wait till Netflix because it's going to be uncensored. I believe they should just put, I know they didn't because there's a deal already in place for SmackDown, but they should have been on thing too on Netflix. This is the 2024. Where was that? Was it on here or was it on AEW where they allow the shit word, but they don't allow the F word? Isn't shit even as bad as the F word as fuck? I don't get it. It's one of those things where it's just like, we're grown men, even the kids. When I was a kid, I heard the F word all the time. It didn't bother me. It didn't make me a bad person. You ask people that know me, they'll tell you I'm a pretty damn good guy. And I'm not worse for wear for hearing curse words. So come on, it's already 2024. Even when it was 2020, even when it was 1990, the F word was already acceptable. Come on. You know? Really, really, it's just silly. Really. Now, back to the match. And Logan Paul comes out, and what is up with, well, I did say that earlier. It's coming, like the SmackDown thing is blacking out here and there. And then good thing is a good thing as he introduces some player from the Pacers. Don't know him, don't care to mention his name. Because when it blacked out, he was introducing him. And that's why I don't like these athletes, actors, whatever, because they look so awkward in the ring. They don't belong. They look like just someone, it's a black tie dinner and then someone shows up in jeans and t-shirts and they look awkward, out of place. These guys. It's like, I just never ever liked that. It's nice seeing a well-known celebrity or somebody in WWE making an appearance. Is great. Arnold Schwarzenegger's done it, right? That famous interaction he had with Triple H during SmackDown, I believe, ringside. Triple H tries to hit him and then, he ducks out of the way, does their Arnie, and he gives him a chop. Pretty good damn chop. Fucking threw, knocked Triple H on his ass, But stuff like that, fine. But guys like this, I don't care if he won an NBA championship. Who cares? He's there because, Indiana, they thwarted New York's attempt to be a NBA champion. I think it was last year. I don't know. And then Graves really said that Knight and Escobar need to worry about Halliburton, whatever his name is. Yeah, sure, Graves. And I predict Santos will win because Paul and Knight will face off at Money in the Bank for the U.S. title. I thought that. That's what I feel, like I said, and we will see as this match continues. And they kept showing Halliburton, whatever his name is. I don't give two shits about him. An NBA champion, whoop-de-doo. I am more concerned about LA Knight getting a shot at that U.S. title. And man, LA Knight is a beast. Dude, hopping up on the top rope and delivering a super German suplex to Santos Escobar. Because Santos was trying to do that, a superplex or whatever to Logan Paul. And then when he does that, and I've always given Logan Paul his due. When he sees that they crash to the damn mat, he does a swanton bomb. And I'm like, pretty impressive all around. These guys really worked in this match. And like I said, Logan Paul, I can't stand him when he talks. I can't stand the people that are around him. But the guy is talented in that ring. And that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters. If he can do that, I'll watch a Logan Paul match. I just don't want to hear him talk. And him primping and, walking around like cock on a walk, and going around. Every time he does something, he has to, cater to the crowd and be an ass and all that stuff. It really gets annoying. But I guess he does his heel thing correct way. I guess he does. He's supposed to get under your skin. And this is the one moment where I believe in that shit. I hate when people say that about guys like Jericho, and Jericho's just straight up annoying. It's like go away heat. Well, Logan Paul doesn't have go away heat. I like to see him every week and be annoyed with him because that's his role and he actually does it right. Not like Jericho, who he annoys you and you want him to go away. I don't want Logan Paul to go away. He's good for what he does and he really, really does deliver. You got to give it to him. And then Paul gets Halifax. Like I said, I don't care about that NBA champion's name, whatever it is. And he gets him to hand on the brass knucks that he gets from that dork. You know that guy that usually is at ringside? That goofy haired looking doofus? I'm like, why in the hell does WWE ban him from the arenas? You know what I mean? Storyline, of course, because, he's not really a threat. But, like, the guy is there with brass knuckles every fucking time. Like, How about storyline-wise, they ban him from the thing so that Logan Paul, like Logan Paul goes to another venue or arena and then he expects him to be, he looks, he's not there. What the fuck happened? Then GM, all this comes out and goes, that guy, so-and-so's name, what he did Every time he's here, he always has those brass knucks where I banned him. And so you're not going to be playing that game, Logan Paul. Something like that, you know. That dude's a dork. I mean, all the guys that he's around. Even this dude. I got nothing against the guy. The NBA champion dude, Halliburton. But he doesn't belong there. He looks like a fool. And Logan Paul makes him look like a dork too. I think whatever he touches turns to dork. Turns to shit. I don't know. You know? But he does that, and then he puts it on, and he's like tapping the steel steps with it. Yeah, it's hard. It's real. And he looks like an idiot with him on. Like he didn't know what he was going to do with it. Aren't you supposed to give it to Logan Paul? You're not supposed to put him on yourself. You want to be fine, dude? I mean, you're not a wrestler there. You know? But then it is thwarted by New York Knicks player Jalen Brunson. I'm not a fan. I don't know him. I'm not a strong NBA fan per se. My team is the Lakers. I don't watch them because I can't stand LeBron James. Hate me if you want. I don't care. He is a, what do you call it? A flop artist. The GOAT? No, he's the flop. That's what he is because he likes to flop. Someone's 5 feet away from him and then he acts like he gets hit. Like, what is that? A guy who's won so many NBA championships and that's the way he plays. I don't think I've ever seen any of the legends, the GOATs, the people that came before him do that. I'm not saying that there some of them didn't, but it's like he's a serial flopper. I mean, you know, but let's move from that. But I became a fan of his here because, you know, he got involved here. You know, he confronts Halliburton, right? And then LA Knight just rolls up Paul in all this distraction and everything and wins and advances to the Money in the Bank. I'm happy for him, but I was picking Santos because I was thinking these two are going to clash at Money in the Bank, but I think they want to keep building it up. And then at SummerSlam, that would be a great payoff to have that match at SummerSlam and have LA Knight go over. And then he can work towards the world title, if that's the plan for WWE. I mean, I was thinking to myself the other day, I go, him winning this, you know, it's like, it's not a downgrade. People want him to be the world champion. But remember, guys, he upgraded from Max Dupree. He was just sitting there announcing, maximum male models down the aisle, talking about the summer fashion or the winter fashion or spring line of clothes and all that stuff. You know, Maxine Dupree was a part of that. So to me, if all he's going to do is win the mid-card titles, even the Intercontinental title, he might have a run with that too, and the tag team titles, he might win, you know, Royal Rumble one day or something like that, whatever, but it never becomes a champion, the world champion. He's got a great career because he upgraded from Max Dupree. Listen to any of the interviews he has, and he is so happy that shit was thrown out. Triple H really looked out for him, knows his value, and he's LA Knight, and he's the better for it. Now, because he pinned Logan Paul, I'm thinking, does that beg the question that now he's in line for that U.S. title? I think so. Isn't that what happens? You pin a champion, then you get a shot? Yeah, I think so. But we'll see what happens. I mean, he is going to the Money in the Bank. He might win Money in the Bank. He might cash in and might win. So we'll see. And I did say Hollaback Girl, whatever his name, Halliburton, looks to beat down Knight alongside, he's going to be join LA Knight and LA Knight. He's going to join Logan Paul in beating down LA Knight, but then Brunson gets in the ring with a steel chair. Good for him. And that, in the end, that makes their opposition tuck tail and run. They're all big and they're all confident going to 2-on-1, and then Halliburton sees his foe there in Brunson. That was it. The steel chair, the equalizer, if you will. I love LA Knight, man, like pretty much telling him, See this chair? Hit him in the head. He's all pounding on the chair, showing Halliburton, yeah, these chairs are real. They hit. They make a nice thud sound. You want that? You want a piece of that? You didn't want that, right? That's a decent match. The segment was okay. You know, Halliburton and Brunson, this is New York. They're a rival, long-time rivalry, right? So why not cater to the crowd? People were cheering. They were behind Brunson. Good for him. I'm sure that he's felt that type of adoration while playing in the NBA, but nothing like if you're in WWE, especially if you're in hometown crowd. He got that feel. And there's some wrestlers that don't even get a hometown reaction or even like a chance to wrestle in their hometown. So the guy was lucky here. He was able to get that rub, that feel of how many 11,000, 12,000, how many were there tonight at SmackDown or at SmackDown because it's the next day. But yeah, good on them. They got their chance to just know what it's like to be in a WWE ring. And whatever, that's good. Now, Mello in the Bank. How does that sound? Well, Mello interrupts Corbin and Cruz as they wax sentimental about Corbin winning and not successfully cashing in Money in the Bank. I mean, Cruz, Apollo that is, what has he done? Yeah, he's won the U.S. title. He's won the Intercontinental title. Very talented guy in the ring, but he hasn't done really much in WWE. And he's ribbing Corbin. At least Corbin says, hey, I won. Yeah, I didn't successfully cash in, but I won. At least I won. And he's like, oh, yeah, because not everybody's going to win the Money in the Bank. So what you do with it is what's important. Then Mello thinks that will outsell Cody's merch, having Mello in the Bank on a t-shirt. And then he ends up with saying they should put money on Mello. Take that to the bank, says Carmelo Hayes. Will he win? Is it too early for Carmelo to win something like that, as big as that, the Money in the Bank that guarantees you a title shot and a world title if you cash it in correctly? You got. I'm sure they're really high on Mello. They're giving him a lot of shine, a lot of TV time. So they're definitely building him up, and we'll see what happens with that, and see if he does win Money in the Bank. Now the next thing is a touching in remembrance for Liati Sika Anoa'i, better known as Sika. He's a member of the famed Anoa'i family of pro wrestling. We know that. And man, I remembered him when he had a singles run with Mr. Fuji. Now, Mr. Fuji was managing, what's his name? The name was there and then it just slipped. Oh, Kamala. And then Sika joined him because Appa already retired. So Sika was a singles competitor. He tagged with Kamala, and then there was a time where, as with Fuji as his manager, that he would have a live chicken. He's petting it, right, during an interview, right? And then he starts biting it, and he picks the feathers off it with his mouth. And people were thinking that was a fake chicken or something, but it was a live chicken. I'm like going, I don't know if chickens' feathers grow back, but it's almost like he was eating that. He would get more fierce with it. Start biting it. Like I'm going, I don't know what happened, why if PETA or any of the animal cruelty groups out there, hit up WWE. Why did you do that? Don't do that. But I remember how watching that, and I'm thinking that this guy is scary. And then you find out that he was, one of the nicest guys, And Bully Ray talking about how Sika would always be so kind to him and stuff like that, talking about how he was so, what he was to his family, what he meant to his family, what he meant to the industry and everything like that. And during this time, he challenged Hogan for the WWE Championship on Saturday Night's Main Event. I remember that. And, he really did give Hogan a run, quite a run in that match, and he almost beat him. But of course, at that time, Hogan was like Cena, where he's untouchable. You're not going to beat him unless... It's not like nowadays where it is kind of unpredictable at times where someone wins a title. Of course, it's predictable in most cases, but back then, when it was Hogan, no one was beating him. Why do you think he had that long-ass run? It's because at that time, until the Ultimate Warrior and him faced off at WrestleMania 6, babyfaces didn't beat babyfaces. They didn't compete against babyfaces who was the world champion. So he was always being challenged by the heels. Sergeant Slaughter, Macho Man, even King Kong Bundy. I believe it was in that infamous blue steel cage. Remember those steel cages they had back in the day? Terry Funk. I mean, a lot of these matches were on Saturday Night's Main Event. They were great. They were fun events. I hated when they did the Saturday Night's Main Events in recent years where it's just another Raw, another SmackDown. It just didn't feel different. Because what made the Saturday Night's Main Events back in the 80s, maybe even into the 90s, very, very special is because they had a lot of great vignettes, on location type things with like this bushwhackers and all this, They had all that. They had a different vibe to it. And then when it's WWE's now, in recent years, it's just another show. You should have made it special like the Saturday Night's Main Events. I don't know if they're going to do them again, but if they do, Triple H, I think, knows what to do because he is a purveyor of the old school. So he might look back at the old ones and go, you know what, let's do this. Let's make them silly and fun and outrageous and stuff like that. Not just another show, But all I gotta say is R.I.P. Rest in paradise, rest in peace to Sika. He's like truly one of the greatest tag team wrestlers and memorable figures in wrestling. I mean, these guys had 21, 22 like tag team championships. Captain Lou Albano, the legend himself, God rest his soul too, managed these guys. I mean, it was really, really just something. Really, really something. And, heart goes out to Roman Reigns. I mean, right now he's, resting and, doing his thing because he has a part-time type of contract, right? And like I said, man, I can't wait for him to return. But let's talk about that later when I get to the Bloodline part. Now, we have Andrade sets his sights on winning Money in the Bank. This is a vignette. And we'll see if he will take over. And not only take the briefcase, but take everything. That's his claim. He might win. Then again, he is the Speed champion. And nobody even talks about that. So, I don't know. Now, another Money in the Bank qualifier. And it's the ladies' turn as we see Blair Davenport walk that aisle, and I hope she wins. I have been a big fan of hers for some time, and she's another NXT UK alumni. And I didn't even know that Indy was already in the ring. Is she gonna get at least an intro, or is she that much of a non-factor? Oh, she does get a name graphic, so there's that. Now, Naomi lets us feel the glow, and I am really feeling her intro music. I loved her old theme more, but this one gets me going, and I'm not going to lie. Now, am I seeing a sort of an alliance between Davenport and Hartwell? That's why I saw Indy winking at Blair earlier, But as they both conspire, Naomi double drop kicks them both to start the match. And Indy is deceptively strong, and I've always said this, and I've always seen it. It's been brought up. And she manhandles Naomi, and then Davenport on the outside attacks Naomi with a stomp or a drop kick. She did it so quickly. I was thinking, what did she just do? But it was devastating. And then Naomi misses a split-legged moonsault as Davenport moves out of the way. And then Indy pulls Blair out of the ring, as there really is no clear-cut advantage for any of these women here. And then Jade comes out to get her some payback from earlier, and is taken by, and then Indy is taken to Pain City as Cargill woman handles her, and then Naomi picks up the win and advances to Money in the Bank. So Naomi advances. She's in Money in the Bank. Blair Davenport, there'll be another day for her. You know, she's still young. She's still fresh and new in this on the main roster. So don't hold it against her. She'll have her day. Now, next Friday in Toronto sees Jade and Bianca face Indy and Candice. I guess they're building their wins so that they can earn a shot legitimately at the tag team titles. Don't just give it to them just because, I mean, they weren't pinned. They're the former champions, but how about give them some adversity on their way to regaining and getting a possible shot at the tag team titles first and then regaining them. And the Street Profits look to perform a musical beatdown on Pretty Deadly. And then DIY challenges Theory and Waller for the WWE Tag Team Championships. And they're backstage, and we find out that it was in Toronto 8 years ago when DIY won the NXT Tag Team titles. That was brought up by Ciampa. I know I do remember that. And I was thinking to myself, I believe that was in TakeOver Toronto where they beat the Revival, who are known as FTR now in AEW. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. It was what a classic that was. It was an amazing match. One of the greatest matches ever. In NXT history, in WWE history, maybe even in wrestling history. It was really good because they both really just fed off each other in that ring. They really worked well together. Two great teams that you're definitely going to get something like that in a match like that. And then DIY continued to warn Theory about Waller, and they are both taken out by Waller. And I'm like, more drama added to this rivalry. Now, imagine, Rikishi, Haku, and Cowboy Bob Orton. Imagine their sons one day being in a major feud years down the road, from the time that they were famous themselves. And that's what we have here in this rivalry between the Bloodline and Orton, KO, and Cody. Oh, not only Rikishi, Haku, and Cowboy Bob Orton, I forgot to put Dusty Rhodes because his son Cody, But next is the Bloodline acknowledgement ceremony, and Heyman takes the stick, and as he pontificates, Solo asks for the mic, cuts him off right there. And Solo proceeds to introduce the newest member of the Bloodline, the Samoan werewolf, Solo's enforcer, Jacob Fatu. So Solo wasn't being honest with the Wiseman. Jacob Fatu is there. So I guess he is here after all, like I said, and man, his theme music is fire, yo. I'm thinking, the graphic depicting a werewolf, I'm like, man, I gotta get that t-shirt if it's available yet. I'm pretty sure it is, but I would like to get that logo as it is. And then as he came out, there was an audible response from the garden crowd, and man, he is intense, is he? And a surefire future player in WWE. That's the prediction of everybody that have watched videos from Busted Open Radio to, just everybody. Dutch Mantel, same thing. And as SmackDown comes back from break, Solo is in focus as he says with confidence, Madison Square Garden, acknowledge me. And as we see Heyman walk over to Solo with disbelief in his face, and the Tongans and Fatu pointing their finger to the sky. And this is Solo talking. He says, right hand man Tama Tonga, step up, and says Solo, acknowledge me. Tama answers, Solo my Takaowa Aofatu, I think that's what he says. Excuse me if I didn't ding. And I acknowledge you. Infamous Tonga Loa, says Solo, step up, acknowledge me. Solo says, Tonga, our love always, I acknowledge you. And as this goes on, Jacob Fatu is pacing and making these ferocious facial expressions. Like, he's just intensity amped up to like 100, pretty much. Then he goes, my enforcer, Jacob Fatu, says Solo, step up, acknowledge me. Solo says, Fatu, he says, I love you, I acknowledge you. He says something between that, I couldn't catch it. I didn't catch what Fatu says. And then Solo approaches Paul Heyman and says to him, "This is your chance, your one chance to lead or leave." I mean, I said lead. I couldn't catch that as Tonga Loa reaches into a black bag and pulls out the necklace, which is, if I'm not mistaken, is the one that belongs to Roman. Heyman says, he yells out, "Oh no," because he knows. "Look at me when I talk to you," says Solo. "Acknowledge me as your tribal chief," and then he hands the necklace to Heyman, and then the mic as well, as Solo bows his head in anticipation of Heyman's acknowledgement. And Heyman is teary-eyed and looks at the necklace, and does this mean that the Bloodline may have taken this from Roman himself? Maybe that's the reason why, because it's like, why would he be in possession of it? Does this have to do with anything? Does this have anything to do with what Solo said when he said that Roman wasn't coming back? Did they take him out? Heyman is then seen mouthing the words, "Why have thou forsaken me?" And then speaks to Solo. Says, "Solo, I love you." Solo answers he loves him too. "And I acknowledge that you are not my tribal chief." The crowd cheers, but the Bloodline are not amused, as Solo drives a Samoan spike into the Wiseman and drops him. And as Solo tells Heyman he tried and he loved him, he sends Jacob Fatu to the top to deliver a Samoan splash, but instead he delivers a diving headbutt. And they aren't even done as they set up the announce desk to perhaps do to Heyman what was done to Cody last week. And man, this whole thing had me speechless. My jaw dropped. And speechless at this point. And then I was hoping that Roman would show up, heck, even before the flying headbutt. I was hoping he was going to be there. But just when I thought I knew what they were going to do next, they triple powerbomb Heyman through the announce desk. I'm like, holy shit. Man, this is next level brutality. And the last image we see is Fatu placing the necklace on Solo as his arms are outstretched at his side. And a new maniacal, sadistic, and homicidal Bloodline point to the sky. "Fuck you, Solo," chants are heard, and GM Nick Aldis can be seen mouthing, "What are you doing?" or "What have you done?" But I think he said, "What are you doing?" And I gotta say that this was probably a moment in Bloodline history now, that for this new Bloodline. If those of you who are saying that these guys suck, that they are not anywhere near the original, you got to think again. This takes it to the next level. These guys are not playing around. Yes, there was brutality displayed by the Bloodline, but was it sickening, homicidal, maniacal, sadistic, actions like this? These guys are not playing around. They want power. They want the prestige. They want the, prominence of being just, shown every week on TV because what they're going to do. I just said to myself, this is SmackDown's major storyline. On Raw, they have Uncle Howdy and the Wyatt Six. Bo Dallas, Taylor Rotunda, and all the rest of them, the creative on Raw, need to step up their game. Build these guys up to be just as a force of nature, like, and a force to reckon with too, like the Bloodline. Because then one day down the road, they can face off. Their factions there could be that appeal that, man, these guys are dominant on Raw, these guys dominant on SmackDown. What about they come together and have a match, have a rivalry? Now, I don't know how that's going to be built up. I don't know what they have in common. Ultimate control of WWE. That could be the deciding factor and the thing that unites these two to have a match, to have a rivalry and a feud, right? Look what they did on their first arrival on Raw, right? Howdy and them. They did just as much damage as like the Bloodline did on SmackDown. So they need to keep that up on Raw, or else they're just going to be like something that they're not even going to think about. Like fans are going to be like, heck with the Y6. I want more of the Bloodline. But it really does beg to differ. Like what's going to happen when Roman Reigns comes back? We know he's going to have probably one of the biggest pops in his career. He's going to, you talk about Roman Reigns being the babyface that McMahon wanted. There you go. He is going to be like, he's pissed, I'm sure, seeing what they did to his Wiseman, who's going to probably be out for weeks. Maybe he's going to be out until Roman comes back, and he's going to come back with Roman. You know, the Bloodline's going to run roughshod. They don't have a Wiseman. I'm thinking right away in my mind, earlier I thought to myself, can The Rock be their Wiseman, right? Be the one. He's probably their Wiseman already. He's probably telling them what to do. He's the one that's behind the scenes telling them what to do. So you're going to see that for Survivor Series, this thing's already set up. The new Bloodline versus the OGs, the original, right? Somehow the Usos are going to reunite. They're going to go with Roman and Paul Heyman. Maybe Zilla Fatu is going to come in. They're even talking about Hikuleo, who's the brother of Tama Tonga, is going to join his brother and Solo and those guys. And this dude is like 7 feet tall. This guy's imposing. He's going to make those guys even more intimidating looking, even more dangerous. So, all I got to say is that I'm just hyped. I can't wait to see what happens next with this. You know, bring it on. What's going to be the next step? Right? Randy Orton wants to end this. They're going to say that at Money in the Bank, this is going to end. I don't know, Randy. You usually are a man of your words, but I don't know if you can live up to those words, because these guys are unstoppable. And I don't know what these guys are going to do. What GM Nick Aldis is going to do. Is he going to suspend these guys for doing that? Don't know. He might get Samoan Spike too. They don't care. They'll attack anybody. But we'll see. Anyway, that's my video for Friday Night Smackdown. A very good episode. Very, very just shocking, jaw-dropping, eye-opening. I mean, all the adjectives. Speechless. I was speechless, man. I swear, at the end of that. I'm like, what is going on? I couldn't speak for a bit. I'm like going, holy crap. In my mind, my mouth was just like, what the, I couldn't. It was just totally just earth-shattering, you could say, when it comes to the world of pro wrestling. I mean, this is something that you didn't expect. Yeah, you know that these guys did not like Paul. They just kept him at bay, kept him around him, because I think they wanted to keep instilling fear in him, and they got off on that. But then they finally dropped the boom on him. They lowered the boom on him, and we saw what happened, man. He was not getting up after he got put through that announce desk. Officials all around him, and he was just... Paul Heyman is just great for selling this and allowing those guys to do that to him. Not only a spot in the ring where he got a headbutt, flying headbutt, and then he was put through a table, kind of harkening back to the Shield, a triple power bomb, and he's out. So I'm pretty sure SmackDown plays their cards right. They're going to let Paul Heyman be gone until he comes back with Roman, which would be probably a number of months from now. Not like on Raw, where we saw Gunther come back after he was put out by the Bloodline, and then, Chad Gable is coming in. He has a Band-Aid or something, so at least, and he's being, timid and looking around him. At least he kind of sold it a little bit, but they really didn't do. Triple H is out doing promotions for upcoming events in for Indianapolis with WrestleMania and SmackDown and SummerSlam and Royal Rumble. I mean, these guys should have been at least gone for 2-3 weeks. At least do something from home, saying that I'm home convalescing, recovering from the attack. But they did what they did, and I don't know if it's going to really, really hurt that, because this is wrestling after all. We got to suspend our disbelief sometimes, and because it's a fantasy world, it's not real, right? It's not it's not like based in reality at times. So I guess we just have to just go with it. But that's all I got to say about that. And like I said, SmackDown was great. It was really, really just an amazing episode, and I'm glad that they're doing this en route now to, the Royal Rumble. Money in the Bank. So we'll see how they continue, especially there's one more week till Money in the Bank. So we'll see what happens when Monday Night Raw and SmackDown have their final shows before, go home shows before Money in the Bank. But anyway, that's my video. So for those of you who stopped by and checked it out, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And until next time, take care, and I will see you in my next video.